You're listening to the One Step Deeper podcast with your host, Jimmy Moore and Brittany Davis. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.
Brit.
No. Oh God, no. The memories. Oh man.
Oh, did somebody call you Brit in the past?
Oh my gosh, I swear, Brit was not it for me. I did not care for that nickname. Brit, good, love it. Brit, let me tell you why. Funny story, guys. Just to start the podcast off with this funny story. I had a little cousin. She was, oh gosh, maybe 18 months old. And everybody called me Brit. Wasn't a big deal, except she couldn't say Brit. And she said Britch, but it didn't sound like Britch. And everybody in the family thought it was hilarious. And so I was Brit for a long time. So
yeah, I've never called you Brit before. I don't know, it just came out of my mouth today. I used to say what's up, Brit, and that's it, and you've never said anything about that. So today you were like, what'd you call me? We all have our traumas from the past.
yes.
Yeah. Yes, because Brit, you might feel like an imposter of sorts if you start getting called that, because your version of that is a far different cry than when Jimmy just called you Brit. So.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so guys, today we got an interesting topic, and it was funny because yesterday Brittany was like, so remind me what we're doing with this topic again. I had to spell it out because it's an interesting one. So episode 57, Duplicity creates imposter syndrome. And it's a little bit, you're like, okay, what's all that? So look up the words. You looked up duplicity. What did you find?
Yeah, when I first looked up duplicity, I guess that's where the confusion was coming from, because the first definition was deceitfulness. And I was like, what? Well, that's not right. But the second one was doubleness. And I was like, there it is. Duplicity in this and what we're talking about today means that doubleness, that living a double life.
Living the double life, having to be one way around certain people and another way around other people, and you feel like an imposter in all the situations because you're like, who am I? And so I'm excited to get into this because you've had some personal experiences lately with imposter syndrome on a variety of levels. I've dealt with it in my past, not as much anymore, but in the past have had that, and people write me all the time about wanting to start a podcast, write a book, and they just, no, I can't do it. So we'll get into that here in just a moment. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com is the website, you guys. Go check it out. See all the past episodes. We're up to 57 episodes now, so a lot to catch up on if you're brand new. Welcome, by the way. We're glad to have brand new listeners all the time here on the show. The show debuts on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern time over on YouTube, as well as on Instagram and Facebook. We put it out there so that you can enjoy the show in video form, so you can see us jibber-jabbering with one another. A lot of people love to hear the audio version, so we got you covered on Mondays. Go check it out. Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Alexa, more of a traditional podcast on Mondays. Go check that out. And while you're at Apple Podcasts, for those of you that use Apple products, go leave us a review over there. We got a couple of trolls that left us 1-star reviews, that people that don't like Jimmy Moore. So 3 or 4 all went in the same day and gave us 1-star reviews and kind of brought us down. And anyway, we had wonderful fans that went in and said, oh, no, you're not doing that to our One Step Deeper. So we're back up over, I think we got down to 3.5 in the rating, and now we're back up over 4.3 or 4 now. So go leave us a review. Even if you just hit a 5-star or whatever star you want to do, you guys, that would be helpful to us. So go check that out. And still coming soon is our book. We got a few snags that came into play. We're working through those. This is the growing pains of a book that's self-published, but we want it to be good, not rushed. And so I promise you it's going to be worth it once it's out, and we hope to have that in your hands here in the coming weeks. But Miss Brittany, yes, you have had this whole idea of imposter syndrome knock you right upside the head quite a bit. Well, let's back up even before the book. This podcast you felt imposter syndrome about. So we've been doing this now just over almost a year and a few months. And I remember at the beginning, you're like, I know how to talk, Jimmy. I know this stuff. I know. But who am I? Like, I'm not Brene Brown. I'm not. And then you told me the story of Rachel Hollis.
Yeah.
Oh, Rachel, what was her background? How did she get into the space of mindset?
Like Google. That's what she
watch
herself.
Videos.
Yeah.
So
She prides herself that she made her way to where she is by Googling things.
yes, and so she didn't have that problem with although I'm sure she did have the problem in the thinking of imposter syndrome in the midst of all that. But today she's very confident in what she does. Brene Brown, same thing. And so you belong. And so do you think it's a duplicity thing? Do you think that, well, people don't see you in that way because you don't have letters after your name and What do you think the genesis of that imposter syndrome is?
Well, one step deeper of it all, I was kind of digging through this of where did it start? And that's kind of what I tell anybody on any topic that we ever do. Dive deeper into yourself, into your own story, and find what was the genesis, what was the start, where did it come from? Because if you can find where it started and where it come from, that's when you can begin to do the inner work to kind of overcome this. And I was thinking about childhood. So many times, guys, I know we talk about childhood trauma. All of this stuff stems from childhood.
Yeah.
You just have messages just bombard you that you don't know how to decipher or critically think through. And so they just become a part of your programming. And so as a child, nothing was ever good enough. My grades weren't good enough. If I did the dishes, they weren't good enough. Or if I did the laundry, it wasn't good enough. My room wasn't clean enough. Nothing was ever enough. And so it was like, no matter how hard I pushed, no matter how hard I did, no matter how much I did, it wasn't enough. And then I was labeled as the smart one. And so being the smart one, if anything didn't come easy for me, it was just like self-proof. It was like, well, look, I'm not the smart one. And like kind of the same thing, people do this and they build all of these things up that they believe about themselves. And then they believe it about themselves because of what people told them. I believed that I wasn't good enough in any area of my life. And so I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed so that I could prove to myself I am good enough, except I was pretending to be things that I wasn't because I was killing myself trying to prove a point, trying to disprove a point that wasn't even real to begin with. I have always been good enough. No matter what I've done, I've been good enough. But because of that messaging as a child, I was trying to disprove that programming in my head, and I feel like an imposter because I feel like the messaging that I was given of I'm not good enough is true. And no matter how hard I work, I'll never be able to disprove that. And that's where that imposter syndrome begins to breed and push and be there.
Well, and the duplicity comes into this where people have characterizations of who they think you are that may or may not be who you actually are, more times than not who you actually are. And so around certain people that have those expectations of who you are, you kind of have to play a role. You have to play the part. And when it's not who you are, that gets exhausting extremely fast. And I think this is why people feel this pull, this kind of back and forth, and then they feel like an imposter, because I think the wearing down mentally of having to, okay, which version of me is this person? And we've all been that way subconsciously in our lives. Like when we start talking about this topic and I started thinking about it, I'm like, holy crap, I have been in a duplicity kind of mindset for the vast majority of my life. And we're talking duplicity. I mean, it's over a wide variety of people. Well, this person I have to be this way. This person I have to be this way. This person expects this is me. This person expects this to me. And then meanwhile, who I am ain't nobody friends with or family with or have any connection with. I want them to know the real me. Now they do know the real me because I live my life authentically who I am. And it's why 90% of my friends left my life.
Yeah. And like, oh man, this topic is so like fresh for me. because I'm in this place in my personal development journey where I'm exploring some other sides that I've never explored before. And in my own home and in the safety of my conversations with my best friend and my other friends and my husband, I feel safe to talk about these topics. And I don't feel like I have to pretend to be anything that I'm not. But it's when I begin to be around other people who have this mindset of who I am. And the struggle is they're not doing personal development. And so they can't accept the growth that I'm doing. And so I try to be, here's my imposter syndrome. I try to be understanding that they have a version of me that is, this is their bubble and this is their version of me. And I don't want to break their heart by being something that they don't see me as, but I'm breaking my own heart by not being who I am.
Well, and here's the thing that happens. You change because you grow. You become who you really are and start living more in your authenticity, which we talk about a lot here. But they still see you as that same person. And so they think you're going through a crisis. They think, and I've had this happen, a lot of people think this about me. Oh, you're just going through a midlife crisis and this is just a phase. And they don't realize, no, I've been playing a part with you all along. And now I need to be who I am so that I can be more grounded in who I am. So I can stop feeling the imposter syndrome. I don't want to live duplicity anymore. I want to live authentically, real, right here where I'm at. This is me. Take me or leave me.
So an older thing that I did, that I talked about, I haven't really brought it up a whole lot lately, is this idea that there are 3 times in our life. We're either surviving, we're striving, or we're thriving. So many people in my life know survival mode Brittany. They know that Brittany, and they don't know what it looks like for me to be striving and thriving, because I never fucking have. I never have been at a place in my life where I could sit calmly and say I am thriving in life. And honestly, it feels unsafe. It doesn't feel comfortable to be like, oh, I'm thriving. It feels uncomfortable because I've never had that experience before. And so for other people, they feel like when they look at me in my life, and this is duplicity, go in there, when they look in and they see me striving for better and thriving in that achievement that I'm doing, they go, she's pretending, because they've only ever seen me surviving.
Yes.
And in my head, I feel like, oh, finally, I'm not pretending. I'm finally living my life. And it's this clash of back and forth. And it's, man, this stuff hurts. This stuff hurts.
Well, and I hate it too, because in recent years, I've gone through some difficult things that you know everything about. I will never share the full details about, because nunja is how I'm going to put it. But the bottom line is I went through some stuff, and in the midst of that, I was not me. I was actually trying to find me. I didn't know who me was. And I found him, and I like him, and he's a cool guy. He's a really cool guy. But before that, people were seeing the version of me, survival mode Jimmy, and they were seeing, even in the transition over to finding who I am, I was a different person. And so a lot of those people still see me today as that version. And then they hear me say things now, or they'll hear about things, and they're like, how dare you? You're saying this, and especially like the Christianity people. Let's get on them a little bit. That's not very Christian, Jimmy. Why are you acting that way? And I'm like, it's honest. Like, I did a reel the other day of this guy singing,
fuck you. Oh, fuck you, fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you. Fuck, 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 fuck.
It was funny. And I was talking about how people left my life because I had difficult things going on, and I was changing and everything. And somebody on YouTube, they said that. They were like, that's not very Christian-like. I'm like, yeah, but it's what I feel. And so people have this concept of who you are. Guys, let's stop painting this picture of other people. Like, I literally have never done this with you, Brittany, of seeing you in some box. I always look at you as a blank slate. It's like, all right, what's the version of Brittany I'm getting now? Because she might change, and I need to be willing to go there with you, so you never feel like an imposter around me.
Oh, yeah.
I once have you. And so I feel like, a little bit off topic, but I think it's ancillary to what we're doing here today. I feel like we need to give people that blank slate every time we see them, and not just put the assumptions on. And I remember when I was younger and I would go back to see my dad and everything after I'd been out of the house. And it was like, it was good for a couple of days, and then it was right back to where it was before. It's like, I'm a different person now. You need to honor the current version and not have this copycat duplicity version of what you think I am, because you're going to give me a complex. So.
This topic has almost turned into, instead of us talking about, like, talking at people who are struggling with imposter syndrome, it's almost as if we're talking to the people, hey, stop creating imposter syndrome in people by expecting something out of somebody, because that's the version of them you've always seen. And like, I just, for a second, I want to honor 3 people in my life, okay? Because I think that these 3 people in my life, I have never pretended to be anything that I wasn't, and they've literally always accepted it. And if I ever come up with some new harebrained Brittany idea, they're just like, sounds cool, how can I help? That's my husband, Wildman. I will not go into details. You guys know how much I talk about that man and how much I love him. And I did Jimmy called me out the other day. I wrote some sappy post. He's like, what's that for? What's that for? And I was like, just Wildman.
I said, get a room.
And it's because I know myself at 18 when we got engaged and got married. I know myself then, and I know myself now, and I'm looking at this man who's changed along the way as well. He's accepted every single change and never pushed and never said, oh, well, I don't know that, Brittany. Like, he's just grown with me, and I love that. And then
once, and then you tried keto, and then you went to the macros diet. So he has supported you all along the way.
Yes. And then when I was like, I think I'm going to write a book with Jimmy, he didn't say anything. He was just like, okay, awesome. How can I help? He's just always been the how can I help guy. And I love that. And then Jimmy, I've literally never pretended to be anything that I wasn't with Jimmy. And I think it was like one of our very first conversations. It was just like, tell me what you got. Like, be honest, just say it. And I was like, okay, I will. And so then I just said, and I still say whatever comes to mind. I just say it. I don't even really care anymore.
Which is why we're on the phone for hours when we talk, because it's like we're just talking. And when you can be authentic with somebody and not have to have that duplicity, it's so freeing. So thank you, by the way. I feel the same way about you.
Yeah. Then the last person, she listens every week, so shout out to her, Brittany Binky. She's been on the podcast before. She's a great friend and been hanging out more often. And I literally just text her after one of our hangouts. I was like, you have no idea how refreshing it is to be around somebody that I don't have to be something. I just am me. And her and I have the same kind of conversations that Jimmy and I do. It's so freaking refreshing. And if I could say anything to anybody out there, please drop your boxes. Okay, again, this podcast has turned into something that I wasn't anticipating, but I love it. Drop your fucking boxes. I had to drop the boxes around my dad. I had a vision of my dad.
Yes.
And it fucked our relationship because I had this vision of who he was, and that vision of who he was didn't allow me to have a relationship. But when I finally dropped that and I stopped having my own idea of who he was and creating imposter syndrome and duplicity, and I just was like, okay, accept him as he is. We have an incredible relationship, and he's given me the same thing as well, where he's just like, I don't believe like that, but hey, you do you, boo. And I like that. And so yeah, I guess this is just a call to action to everybody. Please stop putting people in boxes. Stop doing that. Let them live their life and let them grow. And when you see something that might not be the version of them that you're used to, don't automatically dismiss it as if they're going through a crisis. Just accept them. And if they are into something that you're not into, hey, guess what? It's okay to walk away. Not ugly. Don't be ugly. But like, I've walked away from people in my life because we're just not on the same I've grown in a different direction than they have. Does it hurt sometimes? Yes, absolutely. But I refuse to live my life being something that I'm not. I want to chase authenticity, and I want to give people the right to chase their own authenticity. And like, I can't do the fakeness anymore. And the imposter syndrome, I'm tired. I'm tired of looking like, when I hold my book, I don't want to look at that and be devastated and think to myself, it's not good enough. I want to look at it and be proud of myself. I don't want to have like, I don't belong here. I want to be so proud. And I want that for Jimmy as well. I don't think you struggle as much as I do, but I know it's there.
Did you go keto and thought you had to give up wine? Well, let me introduce you to Dry Farm Wines. It is the world's first sugar-free alcohol that is lower than your typical wines, organic, made at local farms that do it the right way. Most of the wines that you buy are from 3 really big companies, loaded with additives and preservatives, so many dozens of those kinds of things. You don't want all that junk in your wine. So go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and they will ship you these wines. And just because you listen to this podcast, Dry Farm Wines is going to give you a bottle in your first order for just 1 cent. Go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and you will get your bottle of wine for just 1 singular penny. Go check them out. Dry Farm Wines, you guys. It's wine o'clock somewhere. Let's go get some wine. Helps that I've done it 9 times before, so I've been down this road a little bit. But like when I first started writing for a publisher, I had a few of those little thoughts of, well, who am I to write a book? You know, I don't have scientific degrees. I would write books with doctors, and so that was fun. And I told you this story yesterday when we were talking about this, that in 2015, I was invited to be a speaker in South Africa with a group of low-carb doctors and other professionals. And so it was like, doctor, Jimmy Moore, doctor. And so I was like one of the few non-doctors speaking. Now, you want to talk about having a little bit of like, why am I here? Imposter syndrome. I could have easily had it, but at that point I knew I belonged because I was invited. I was a guest of the host, Professor Tim Noakes was like, I want you there, Jimmy. And so I think this also can help you, that if you're given permission to be who you are, that's your people. Like, I gave you full permission when we started talking, like you said that first time, hey, let me have it. Let's hear it. Don't hold back. And then vice versa. You're like, hey, let it out. And you actually helped me overcome a lot of this timidity about who I was. You pulled a lot of that out of me. In a lot of our conversations, you would ask pointed questions. Do you really believe that? Is that what you believe? Or is there a little bit of the face that you put on for other people coming through? Or I was in a previous relationship, or was that something that you believed in your relationship, but you didn't actually really believe fully? And so those things, there's a lot of things that can push you to being that double life, so to speak, that we were talking about, the duplicity. And I just feel like coming out of this pandemonium, as you call it, we all need to be more real and more authentic now than we ever have. And I feel like it's going to serve us well in our lives if we learn to do that, not live this double life and not feel like we have to play a part. We got enough mental strain and stress already. We don't need to add more to it.
You know, I was sitting here thinking about teenagers, and everybody talks about teenage angst and that push and pull that they have of, you know, they still are not old enough to make their own decisions, but they feel like they're old enough to make their own decisions. And so they're hearing the programming and the thoughts and the you should be this way from their parents, but they're struggling because they're trying to find individuality. And the sucky thing is, a lot of teenagers, hello me, I wanted to please my parents and like try to gain acceptance from them and love from them, that I was willing to mold myself into whatever they wanted.
Yes.
I'm 29 years old and I'm just now going, who am I? who is Brittany, and my whole name on Instagram, Becoming Brittany Lee. My dad makes fun of it so much, but like in a comical way. I'm not offended when he does, because I've told him the same thing. I was so busy putting myself, allowing the boxes. Here's another thing. Let's go the other way, guys. Not only should you stop pushing boxes in people's way of this is how you are, you got to be this way always. Like, stand up for yourself. Good God, if you have changed and someone sees you in a way that you used to be, it's okay to look at them, hold them by the face, sweet dear, sweetheart, be understanding, be like, I'm not that person anymore. Yeah. I'm not there. I have grown. I have some things in my past, things that I have said, things that I do not believe, not even an ounce of it anymore, not even close. And I have had to go and apologize to people and like be repentive of like, oh shit, I messed up. I messed up. But I'm not that person anymore. I'm a completely different person. Now, if somebody sees old Brittany and I hurt them, I understand they can't see new Brittany because I hurt them as old Brittany. And so there's a stop there. And also understand this with other people, guys. It's okay to move forward is what I'm saying. And it's okay to be bold in telling people, I'm not that person that you think I am. And it's also okay to just like not care, just like not even address it. But I have had to tell people in my life, whatever version of me you've created, that's not my responsibility. It's not my job. It's not on me. I'm not that person anymore.
And when you realize that literally every single person in your life has a different version of who you are, you put this in the book, and it was so good when you wrote this, and you guys are going to love this part when you get there. But when you come to that realization where you're like, holy crap, here I am trying to live the real me, be authentic, and literally every single person judges me based on what they see about me in their life and nothing more. Now, I would argue not every person. You've already enumerated people who see you for whoever you are, your husband, myself, and the different people, your dad. Who was the fourth one? Oh, Ed, Brittany Banky. Sorry, Brittany, I forgot about you. But yes, but it's rare because most people, they want that squeaky clean version of you, and I feel like in our society today, if you're even a little bit off from what people want you to be, oh, well, you can't be that way. It's like, the F I can't. It's like, yes, I can. And I want to empower people. Don't acquiesce to the whims of other people, because I argue, and I put this in the book in one of my sections, one of the journal entries, I argue if you shape yourself into the mold of what other people want, whose life are you actually living at that point?
Howie. Wow. Yeah. And I wrote something similar down in my notes that, when you choose to placate to that role of what somebody sees you as, and you continue on with that, it creates an imbalance in yourself. They don't see anything different. You're continuing to perpetuate that you are that person. They don't see anything different because you're just allowing it to go on like that. And you create an imbalance in yourself. And because you're living in that duplicity, guess what? You're going to go home and feel like a big ass imposter because you're not living your true self. You're not being who you are. And like, one of the big, like a simple one, guys, Demi mentioned Christianity earlier. The way that I was raised, it is like absolutely the worst, horrible thing ever to cuss, ever, never. You can't say ass or shit or nothing. It's terrible. It's horrible. And for the longest time, out of respect, I continued to be that person. Now, I'm not going to drop an F-bomb around my grandma. She might slap me. But, I will say the lower ones just so that she knows I'm not that version of me anymore.
I got in trouble when I was a kid. I just remember this when you said that. My mom and stepdad, I said freaking.
Oh,
I got it for saying freaking.
Oh, too close.
I was like, really? That's the clean version. I can say the full Monty version.
Well, I was talking to my grandparents about my book, and they were asking me questions, and I told them up front, I am who I am. Like, what you read in that book is who I am. And I literally have told several family members, you're not prepared to read that. You are not ready. Because I didn't hold back. I was who I was. And the whole world is now going to, or whoever picks it up, I guess, is going to get to see that and see the version of myself that I am around my closest friends, around my husband. And they're going to get to experience that. And I'm a little nervous, but really excited. And I think this is a topic that I talked about before. It's easier to feel rejection when you're not being your true self, but like when you're being your true self.
Yes.
That rejection kind of sucks a little bit more, but at the same time, if somebody rejects who I am as an individual, it doesn't hurt me because I'm like, you're not for me. My energy's not for you. Your energy's not for me. There's no heartbreak there because that's cool. I'm not for you. Whereas if I was trying to be something that I wasn't, and then they reject me that way, it almost cushions it like, oh, well, I'm not my real self anyway. All right, sorry, go ahead.
Now we're getting to the heart of why this exists. I think a lot of people put on the duplicity and feel imposter syndrome because they feel like they would be abandoned by friends, family. Because what happened when Jimmy changed, and you too, you lost a lot of friends too. You lose people. And you start to value those people who are your people. Like, you're the most valuable person in my life right now. Because of that, I've got other friends that I also value highly as well. And like all of us, we should be trying to not appease other people just to have friends. We shouldn't like acquiesce who we are as people. We need to actually be who we are, and if they can't accept who you are, doesn't mean they're going to agree. You and I do not agree on very many things. Now, we respect each other enough to say, oh, okay, wow, you believe that? Here's what I believe. Oh, wow, you believe that? Here's what I believe. And it's not necessarily the same, but I adore you. I couldn't imagine not having a conversation with you. And just because you believe different than me does not make it. So I love that I have the freedom to be the craziness that is the alter ego for you, and vice versa. I love hearing your perspective as a 29-year-old millennial mom of 3, happily married wife. It's a different version than a 50-year-old divorcee, never had kids, highly successful in my career. Like, the very clear differences between the two of us. And very clear differences of opinion about a lot of things, you guys. So it's amazing. People would be like, why are y'all friends? Well, we're friends because we respect those differences. And I don't have to feel an imposter around you. You might have felt that a little bit around me at first because, wow, who am I talking to Jimmy Moore?
Yeah, I mean, maybe really, really early on. I'm talking like pre-KetoCon 2019, like before then. But like when I met you, and I met you in person in April 2019, and so that was the first time I'd ever met you, and we had a cool conversation that day. And we had some other conversations in between there, and then I met you in person again, and it was just like a confirmation of, oh, Jimmy is just Jimmy. And so from that point on, Jimmy was always Jimmy's just Jimmy. I had to remind you the other day that, hey, you're Jimmy freaking Moore, dude. Okay. Like, yes, you have this version of yourself. I'm just Jimmy, but there are people in the world that still see you as, oh my God, it's Jimmy Moore, because I was one of those people at first until I was like, yeah, he's just Jimmy.
And I've always liked it that way. And yeah, everybody be like Brittany. I'm nothing special, I promise you. So
yeah, and I've had those same kind of people. Listen, I've actually on the opposite side too. Like, people look in and they see a version of me and they don't like that, and it makes them upset and have things to say. And that's okay. That's all right, baby. I love you anyway.
yes.
What?
I was just going to say, and we got a comment the other day from somebody who follows my work, and they were talking about you, and it was just this perception she had of you. I don't know if you, and this is another part of this story, sometimes you look like somebody that you have a relationship with, and so because you have this look, and you had this example too, I'm not going to say what it is, but you have this person that you loathe, but you loathe this person because there's another person this person looks like, and so your memories seeing this new person reminds you of the old person, which you have memories of that are not great, and so you have a version in your head. So this is where it really gets muddied.
Really, really. Yes, and this is where, like, sometimes the duplicity, like, you can't control it. I can't help if I look like a certain person that triggers you. And listen, if I do, please walk away. I just wrote this in my stories. I think it was yesterday. Like, stop following accounts that trigger you, guys. Stop following accounts that require you and push in your direction, living an imposter life, that living duplicity. I've been following a couple of accounts, and their accounts, they're sweet, wonderful people that I have met in person. Yes. But their current feed, their current sharings, their current path that they are on doesn't align where I am, and it triggers me. And it makes me feel like shit about myself, and it makes me question myself, and it makes me feel like an imposter, and it makes me feel like I'm living duplicity. Okay, yeah, it is in there. Exactly. At the bottom, big bold words: protect your mental health. Stop being around people. Remove yourself from people if you have to. If they can accept who you are, so that you can, guys, you got to do this so you can stop feeling like an imposter. If they can accept you who you are, remove yourself. And I know that seems so tough. They're my family, or they're my this, but they're my this. Brittany don't care. Brittany does not care who you are, what title you have. There's a difference in being born into somebody's life and not having a choice who you're raised around or with, and then being a grown-ass adult and choosing who you're around, who uplifts you, who feeds into you. Jimmy feeds into me. My husband feeds into me. My friend Brittany feeds into me. I'm looking at a picture of Mr. Chris, who passed away last year. That man was more dad to me than perhaps anybody in my entire life. Now, we ain't got to go into the depths of that. I probably could have had my actual dad, but we won't go in there. You can read all that details in the book. And then, Miss Ellen, his wife, like, these are the people that I found, like, were on my journey, and that I clung to so fast because I never had to be anything that I wasn't. I could just be who the hell I am. I still talk to Ellen, and, like, we were back here. And we were good. And then both of us have kind of like light years, like, sped in the opposite direction of what nothing like we used to be. And we're still so close because we respect each other. Man, if you can find somebody that respects you at all areas of your life, cling to it. But stop putting yourself in situations around people that requires you to live a double life. Please don't do that to yourself. Sorry, you did.
If you have to put on a face around someone that is something that you're not, if you have to be something other than yourself around someone, ask yourself the question, is it worth it? Is that the life you want? And yeah, I mean, I love that I have you in my life. I love that I have, I'm going to call their names out, Kelly in my life. I love that I have Lindsay in my life, and I have Lauren in my life, and I have lots of people that they see me for who I am. They let me be the silly guy that I do silly stuff. That's just who I am. And I'll say things bluntly, sometimes as advice when we're talking, and I do that to you as well, and call you out. You love it. Not everybody loves it. You're kind of the sadistic one, so I can get away with it with you a little more. I don't love it either. What'd you say?
I think for that compliment, I'll accept that.
Yes, you do love it. And most people, they're like, okay, yeah. But so they don't always take it as well. You're like, hit me with your best shot. So Pat Benatar me. But yes, I feel like people just need that more, and don't be different than who you are, guys. You want to not feel like an imposter. Stop being an imposter. Let's just be honest. When you're being something other than who you are an imposter.
So, okay, like, I immediately thought about the people that are listening. who aren't in the place that Jimmy and I are, who have done the work. We know who the fuck we are. We're good. But what if you've been living a double life so long you don't know who you are? What do you do then? That's where One Step Deeper comes in, guys. Like, that's where you have to. It's so simple. One Step Deeper is literally so simple. I could wrap it all up, this whole journey, into ask yourself simple questions. So freaking simple. Simplify it over and over and over. That's what the whole freaking journal is about. You read a section, we ask you some questions and you to dive deeper into yourself. And it's very simple questions. Like, this is so simple. Okay. The first question, Jimmy said it earlier, ask yourself, is it worth being around these people? How do I feel when I'm around this person? Am I being who I am, or am I being a reflection of who they are because I want to fit in with them? And like, it seems so simple, but it's complex for some people. I think about a lot of relationships that I had in my early 20s. I was a part of this church and I wanted to belong because I had never belonged anywhere. And so I would listen to the music that they listened to, and I would dress like they dressed, and I would shop at the stores that they shopped at, and I would be who they were because I was trying to be a reflection of them, because if I'm a reflection of them, then they'll like me. Right? Am I getting anywhere? You become a reflection of somebody because you want to be liked by them. And then years down the road, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't like flower shirts. I don't like flower shirts. I don't like this music. I like Five Finger Death Punch. And it was just like, wait a minute, who am I? And so I had to do the simple questions of, what music do I like? Like, literally, guys, go that simple. Ask yourself, do I wear makeup because society says I need to wear makeup, or do I wear makeup because I enjoy it? Let me tell you, I will straight walk up into Walmart looking all pale face and nothing on and feel wonderful. And when I come on the podcast, I wear makeup because I want to wear makeup, not because anybody told me that I had to. Matter of fact, I have come on the podcast just with no makeup on. I did that on purpose one day. Like, I don't care, but I've asked myself those simple questions. So if you feel yourself living this double life and you don't know where to start because you've lived your double life for so long, start asking yourself simple questions. Simple questions like, do I really want to eat this? Like, I'm serious. Do I want to eat this, or am I eating this because somebody on the internet told me that this tastes good?
A lot of people ask me, Jimmy, how do you get such good deep sleep? Well, there's a lot of things that I do, but one of the newest things that I recently added is this upgraded magnesium from a company called Upgraded Formulas. Go to their website, upgradedformulas.com, and you can learn all about this nano technology that they use for this particular mineral of magnesium. Again, it's called Upgraded Magnesium, and it's got all the different forms of magnesium in it using the nanotechnology, so it gets absorbed a lot better. Guys, I have seen my deep sleep improve by as much as 30 to 40% simply by adding in this product along with sunshine exposure, darkness in the room, cooler temperature, all of the things that I always have done. So again, upgradedformulas.com is the website. Go check them out. I think reevaluating where you are in your life on the regular is probably a healthy habit. The problem is we get into routines, we have relationships with people, we kind of have a reputation to uphold towards other people, kind of like that person on YouTube telling me I need to be more Christian. Yeah, thank you, but I got this. Thank you. And you kind of have to like remind people they don't get a say in your life. And I think other people take offense when you don't do what they want you to do, when you're not who they are. This is what leads to a lot of strife in relationships, love relationships, friendships, that leads to the demise is one side or the other or both don't respect the changes in the people. And I know some friend groups that the only thing that binds them is a sports team. The only thing that binds them is they have poker night, or what do you ladies do together? Crochet night, whatever night. I know I'm talking older ladies, not you.
Well, see, Brittany and I connect over coffee, books, deconstruction, one step deeper. We're not surface level friends, though.
But that's a healthy relationship where you respect each other. I'm thinking about those people that have the surface value of the only reason you're friends is you hang out socially, but do you know like what happened to them in the 7th grade? Do you know, like, and you do for me, and I do for you. Do you know little, and this is the litmus test, whether someone in your life knows you very well and lets you be who you are? Do they know little intricate details about who you are? And I would argue most don't. I would argue that most relationships, friendships, and I'll step on some toes, marriages don't know each other and don't have any interest in knowing each other beyond surface value types of things. And I've just become very passionate, you guys, about cultivating deep, real relationships, friendships.
I refuse to have it. Like, I was laughing while you were saying all those things because I have removed surface level relationships from my life. If you can't go deep and you're not at that place, I can't be around you because I feel uncomfortable, and I refuse to feel uncomfortable in my own house, in my own life. I'm not going to.
It's shallow. At that point, it's like once you've had a conversation like you and I have conversations, like we've spoiled each other because we have very deep conversations that go in a variety of directions. And next thing we know, 2 hours have passed and we're like, wow, it feels like we just started. And if you don't have those kind of relationships, guys, where you can just be you and not pretend to be in any way something you're not, let go of those people. Like look, not everybody's going to go one step deeper. Not everybody, and I would say, sadly, the vast majority of people have no interest in the things we talk about on this podcast. They have no interest in doing the work on themselves like we put in our book. They don't want to do that because it's a lot of work to be who you are. But in my opinion, Brittany, it's a lot more work, mental strain, to try to keep up with all the versions of who you are, playing that duplicity role around all these people. You get home and you're just like, who the fuck am I? And this imposter syndrome sinks in.
Okay, so we've already stepped on toes. We might as well keep going. I 100% believe that there's no solid thing that causes depression, no solid thing that causes anxiety. It can come from trauma. It can come from a lot of different things, guys. It can come from a chemical imbalance. Please do not take me wrong what I'm about to say. I lived the majority of my young life, like 20 to 25, absolutely depressed out of my fucking mind because I was pretending to be something that I wasn't. And so my depression came from duplicity. My depression came from imposter syndrome because I was being something in front of people that I wasn't. And like, that's where my depression and my anxiety came from, because I would get anxious anytime I was going to be in public because of the thoughts that would run rampant of, I have to be this person around this person. And I would be anxious because I would be worried that I was going to let it slip. I was going to slip a little bit of who I actually was. And so and I'm not saying that that's the only reason why I've been depressed and anxious in my life. Believe me, it is not. Believe me, I have lots of reasons that I've struggled with those mental diagnoses. But like, part of the depression was, when I spent 6 months on the couch, just miserable, it was because in my mind, I was something that my body wasn't allowing me to be. And so it was kind of the opposite of, I'm not this person. I want to be this person, but I can't be this person because this body won't let me. And it was such a mess. And again, imposter syndrome, but like in a different light.
Yes, and she's referring to after her surgery for the hernia went awry, and she was in the hospital for 23 days. So just to remind people that don't necessarily know that story.
Thank you. I forget. I forget.
That's my podcasting skills kicking in. No imposter there. I know who I am as a podcaster.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so guys, I hope you're getting the message here that you don't have to play that role where you have to be something different to everybody. Now, we all know those personalities that are in our lives that if we act who we really are, they're going to go flippo, dippo, doopity weird on you. And I suppose you have to make the decision around them. You stay the duplicity, or do you like slow roll them into who you are? Because there's people, and let's go back to Big Bang Theory, since you and I both love that show so much. Sheldon Cooper does not like it when you change. And any little, I remember there was one episode where Penny got a new haircut. And the first thing he liked was, "You've changed."
I feel renewed. I'm ready to deal with any changes that come my way.
Hey! Look who's back!
Your hair is different. You changed your hair. I can't take this. I'm out.
I don't like that. You changed. I grow your hair back out. I can't take that. It's too short. And he couldn't handle, because it was a different version of Penny than he was used to. Penny had the right to wear her hair however the hell she wanted to wear it. But because he saw her in only one way, it made him go berserko. Now, she stayed friends with him in the show, and it was, and they had an interesting relationship. But it's like, you have to make that decision. Do I kind of play around that person a little bit but still be who I am, and try to like slow? And this is the hard part, is how much of that do you do with how many people before you go, it's too exhausting, I'm just gonna have to let them go out of my life?
Yeah, and I mean, that goes back to one step deeper on this, guys. Just ask yourself those basic questions. Who are you willing to do this around? And I have a person in my life that I have held on to the relationship because I still get something out of the relationship, and so do they. But I definitely am their sandpaper. I am their, I'm gonna ask you hard questions about the things that you believe. I will respect that you believe what you believe, but understand I believe differently. And I mean, I've been Jimmy's sandpaper too, and Jimmy's been mine. Okay. But like, I solely in this relationship am this person's sandpaper, and just like fine tuning and asking those difficult questions. And I kind of slow roll. Like, they're the person that I just kind of give a little hint, a little bit more, until I feel like them going, that's too much. And so I back off, but I still hold on to that relationship. And pretty much throughout my life, I probably have maybe 2 or 3 people that I do that with, that they have meant so much to me for so long that I want to be understanding with them that I am changing, and that's difficult for them. But anybody else, I don't care.
Well, and there's the difference. These people still give you value in your life. And I think that's the litmus test, guys. If these people you have in your life expect you to be a certain way, and you feel like you're dancing on eggshells, which neither Brittany nor I love that, where you have to dance on eggshells around certain people, and you those people in your life you have to do that with, that's not fun. That's not pleasurable. That's not in any way how I want to live my life. I want to live who I am. And sometimes that's going to ruffle your feathers. And a lot of times you're not going to see eye to eye. We don't. But I adore this woman as my friend. I think she kind of likes me a little bit as a friend as well. So like, you learn to be who you are. And then you don't have to worry about duplicity. Then you don't have to worry about feeling like an imposter. And if you ever do, if you've got good friends in your life, they're going to remind you you're not. And let's go to the book, since we kind of previewed it at the beginning. You felt big time imposter syndrome about the book. And I kept telling you, because you're like, I don't have any letters after my name. Who am I writing a book? I said, do you know another author in your life that has no letters after their name on a book? Is there no letters? Any letters after the name on these books, Brittany? Any letters after the name? I don't see any. But I'm writing a shitload of books, and several of them have done very well.
It was such a call out moment. It was so basic of a question, but like, it was a call out moment that I was like, oh, wow, okay, I get it. It was good though.
And do you think I don't have the ability to talk about keto, talk about fasting, talk about cholesterol and all the things and now talk about childhood trauma? Do you think I don't have the right to talk about them? You're like, holy crap, you know more than most people. Exactly. And so do you.
Yes, guys. I did really. I think we even kind of threw it in the intro, like how much I struggled pulling myself through my own trauma to write a book about trauma, and but getting on this side of it, I'm just like, oh wow, I did it, and I have grown. I still struggle with imposter syndrome. I still struggle. I don't even want to say struggle because that's not the truth. I don't struggle with it anymore. It's I have the temptation to think those thoughts. I don't wrestle or struggle with those thoughts like I used to, and they come, and I'm like, oh, interesting. No thanks, I'm not interested in thinking that way, and so I move past it. It's not always like that quick. Sometimes I'm just like, they marinate for a minute, but I don't put them in the oven and let them cook. Where did that come from?
Wait till we're at 100 episodes on this podcast and about 3 books in our One Step Deeper Journal series, and all of that will be gone. Yeah, because it was after the fasting book, which was my 3rd book with a major publisher. I did Keto Clarity, Ketogenic Cookbook, and Complete Guide to Fasting. It was after that when I was like, I belong.
Yeah,
and
it feels good. It feels good, and it feels good to continue to position myself in a place around people who continue to let me know, hey, you belong. Hey, you're doing something good. Hey, this is good. Hey, you're successful. Hey, it's working. You know, like all those little messages. And honestly, reparenting, call it what you want to. The messages in my brain have been reprogrammed. I don't automatically revert back to, you're a failure. Nobody loves you. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to read this. Nobody thinks you're special. Like, I don't revert to those messages that I heard as a child because I reprogrammed. The slate in my brain got wiped. There's a couple of those that are just etched in, just etched in, that they still come back. But for the most part, it's such a refreshing place to hear my husband's voice in my head and not my abuser, or to hear my friend Brittany's voice, or to hear Jimmy's voice, and that reassurance and those thoughts that, you got it, you're doing this. And so it's almost like going back to duplicity and imposter syndrome. It's just like that slow wiping away of all of those messaging as a child and all of those things, and just replacing them with my own thoughts, with thoughts from the people that care about me, who respect me as I am. Sorry, I had a moment. I'm not going to cry. Okay.
Jim, start talking, please, quick. Yeah, so guys, hopefully here in episode 57, you now realize that you don't have to live that double life. You don't have to live a duplicity lifestyle. You don't have to feel like an imposter. You do belong. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're pursuing, as long as you're doing it in your authentic self of who you are, whatever other people decide to do with that is on them. That's not your issue. You be you, and you will never feel like an imposter. All right, Miss Brittany, how's the hand this week? Are you ready to take us home?
I think I can take us home this week. It's a little painful, but I'm good. I got it. All right, guys. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com is the website. All the past episodes are there. YouTube, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I got to slow this down and talk it really fast. YouTube, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the first place that you can find the episodes. That's where they debut. Sunday, Instagram and Facebook, they go up there as well. And on Mondays, we are a typical podcast where you can listen to us on the audio version if that's your thing. I don't know. It's something about just listening to a podcast while you're doing something, driving down the road, if you will. Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, ALEXA. You can listen on all of those places, and leave us a review over on Apple Podcast. Thank you to all the people who came to our rescue after the couple of negative reviews. And hey, if you do have a negative review, I mean, I'm welcome to it. I don't know about you, Jimmy, but like, just tell us what you think. Like, don't just leave a star. Tell us why it's one.
You don't have to write out a whole review. It does let you just put in a star, but we would love to see some reviews. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. We are loaded for bear. We still have lots of topics, and yes, in the coming weeks, One Step Deeper Journal, the foundations, it's coming. Be patient with us. We're trying to make this the best it can possibly be, and we think we have a pretty good track now to get the book that we've wanted from the very beginning. So we're real excited. If it means it takes a few more weeks, it's worth it. I promise you guys. So hang with us, and we'll be back again next week. Bye, everyone.
OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.